After a brutal tit-for-tat bloodbath in Palermo, the streets of Sicily ran red, and Michel Navarra met his fate. On August 6, 1958, the once powerful head of the Corleone Mafia was gunned down by 3 assassins wielding handguns. The hit was ordered by none other than Luciano Leggio, a cold-blooded 33-year-old mafioso who wasted no time in claiming the title of boss of bosses. With Navarra's death, the Corleonesi began their bloody ascent. The Sicilian Mafia, born in the mid-1800s and already responsible for thousands of murders, was about to be reshaped by a new reign of terror. Navarra's war with Leggio had only added to the body count, but the true slaughter was just beginning. Leggio's killers, Salvatore Totò Riina, Calogero Bagarella, and Bernardo Provenzano, were not mere foot soldiers. They were architects of a new era. Together, they fortified the Corleonesi, building power through calculated violence and merciless ambition. By the early 1960s, the trio had launched a campaign to exterminate every last supporter of Navarra. Dozens were hunted down and killed. Arrest warrants forced Leggio, Riina, and Provenzano into hiding, but even underground, their grip tightened. In 1969, Leggio and Riina stood trial for murders from the early decade, but justice faltered. Witnesses vanished, jurors were threatened, and both men walked free. Later that year, Riina went underground again, fleeing another murder indictment. He would remain a fugitive for 23 years. Then, on May 16, 1974, justice caught up to Leggio. He was captured and imprisoned for orchestrating Navarra's assassination. Though locked away, he still pulled strings from behind bars. Yet it was Riina who now truly ruled the Corleonesi. His power extended beyond Sicily. His compare Danello at his wedding was Domenico Tripoddo, a powerful Ndrangheta boss from Calabria and a prolific cigarette smuggler.
Sit down. Well, please. Champagne, it's imported. You know, men like wine should grow finer, more civilized. They should mellow, become more worldly. But not Callahan. Callahan is the one constant in an ever-changing universe.
And that ever-changing universe has now just cemented ties between two criminal empires. The Corleonesi's rise brought inevitable war. Their main enemies were the bosses of powerful Palermo clans, Stefano Bontade, Salvatore Inzerillo, and Tano Badalamenti. The opening salvo came on April 23, 1981, when Stefano Bontade was gunned down with an AK-47 by Giuseppe Greco, one of Riina's most ruthless hitmen. Bontade's death ignited a storm. What followed was the Second Mafia War, a merciless purge that claimed up to 1,000 lives. Riina and the Corleonesi slaughtered their way to supremacy, wiping out not only enemies, but former allies too, Filippo Marchese, Giuseppe Greco, Rosario Riccobono, all eliminated as Riina consolidated his grip on power. Sensing what was to come, mafioso Tommaso Buscetta fled to Brazil in January 1981, desperate to escape the rising tide of blood and betrayal. He would not be the last. The Corleonesi ruled the Mafia now, and they ruled through fear, fire, and death. For centuries, the Cosa Nostra ruled Sicily with an iron fist, untouchable, immune, and unchallenged. They thrived in the shadows, sowing chaos, fear, and destruction, all of which translated into power and unimaginable profit. Their empire was absolute, Only once in history did their grip falter, during the rise of Mussolini. For 2 decades, the iron regime of fascism pushed the Mafia underground, stripped them of influence, and drove them into silence. But history has a way of turning. When the Allies stormed Italy during World War II, it wasn't just a liberation of the people, it was the resurrection of the Mafia. In the fog of war, the Cosa Nostra slipped back into power like smoke through a broken window. Rackets resumed, extortion returned, even livestock theft surged. But it didn't stop there. In a twist of fate, the Allies, desperate for local contacts, handed the Mafia contracts to recover and manage damaged military vehicles. It wasn't just a job, it was a key to rebirth. With money, connections, and legitimacy, the Cosa Nostra didn't just return, they evolved. For over 200 years, no politician dared oppose them. No police force could stop them. Not even the army could touch them. They were legends, ghosts, gods of the underworld. And then, everything changed.
A patient like no other, escorted out of this private Palermo hospital, his cancer treatment now interrupted because the elderly man in the beanie cap had in fact been Italy's most wanted mafia boss for 3 decades. Matteo Messina Denaro. He disappeared from public view in the early 90s. The police had to guess at his appearance, allowing for plastic surgery. In the end, the projection was kinder than the real mugshot. Local residents in Palermo thanked the police. And wished the boss who'd embodied the mafia's potent mix of myth and malice good riddance.
Story tonight has the makings of a blockbuster movie. It is about the Mafia in Sicily. This is one of the most powerful mafia clans in Italy. To give you context, it is the inspiration behind the Godfather series. Now, in recent years, the Mafia has been on a massive recruitment drive, recruiting a new generation of foot soldiers and teaching them the Mafia honor code. Also trying to recreate its once powerful ruling council. But Italy has just thwarted these attempts. More than 1,200 officers have raided the clan. They have arrested at least 160 mobsters. This is the biggest crackdown against Sicilian mafia in decades, and it is a major blow to the country's criminal top bosses. But will this be enough to solve Italy's mafia problem?
August 26, 2025. A landmark European investigation has delivered one of the most significant blows to Italian organized crime in decades, exposing the fatal over-reliance of modern gangsters on encrypted technology and triggering a wave of arrests that reached the highest echelons of the Mafia. In 2020, French and Dutch law enforcement agencies, with support from Europol, pulled off one of the most ambitious surveillance operations in modern history. Their target, EncroChat, a supposedly secure communications platform used by over 60,000 criminals worldwide. Hackers quietly infiltrated the system, harvesting millions of real-time messages. Among the unsuspecting users were key members of Italy's most powerful criminal organizations, including the Ndrangheta and the Cosa Nostra. The fallout was immediate and historic. Thousands of arrests followed across Europe, but perhaps nowhere was the impact felt more deeply than in Italy, where the encrypted data helped dismantle the operations of long-standing mafia syndicates. The breakthrough enabled Italian investigators to zero in on decades-old networks that had previously evaded infiltration. Among those captured was Matteo Messina Denaro, the last major fugitive of the original Cosa Nostra leadership. Known as the last Godfather, Denaro had been on the run for nearly 30 years, wanted for his role in the 1992-93 bombings that killed anti-mafia judges Giovanni Falcone and Paolo Borsellino, as well as countless other murders and criminal activities. His arrest in 2023, facilitated in part by EncroChat intelligence and surveillance techniques, marked the symbolic end of an era. But he wasn't alone. EncroChat's breach also led to the downfall of several high-ranking Ndrangheta bosses, including Domenico Bonavota, one of Italy's most dangerous fugitives, who was captured in Genoa. Other prominent arrests include Giuseppe Romeo, considered a key trafficker in international cocaine routes, and Rocco Morabito, a top-tier drug lord arrested in Brazil and extradited after years on the run. Investigators credit the operation with unraveling sprawling drug trafficking and money laundering networks that stretch from Calabria and Sicily to South America, Africa, and beyond. Seizures included tons of cocaine, assault weapons, and hundreds of millions in illicit assets. Perhaps the most striking revelation wasn't just who was arrested, but how. Experts note that the downfall of many modern criminals stemmed from a basic but fatal mistake: trusting technology too much. In the past, mafia bosses wouldn't even speak over a landline, says an anti-mafia prosecutor from Palermo. They used hand-delivered messages, face-to-face meetings, and silence. The old Cosa Nostra understood the value of paranoia. Today's gangsters, their text-in murder plots. The contrast between the old guard and the new couldn't be clearer. Mob legends like Salvatore Totorina and Bernardo Provenzano spent decades avoiding phones entirely. Provenzano famously used pizzini, small scraps of paper with handwritten notes, to communicate, often hidden under rocks or inside loaves of bread. His caution helped him stay free for over 40 years. In contrast, younger mobsters were caught planning drug shipments, assassinations, and bribery schemes in real-time chats, often complete with emojis and voice notes. EncroChat was their clubhouse, said a senior investigator. They felt invisible, but we were watching everything. The irony is glaring. In trying to operate like high-tech criminal enterprises, these organizations opened the door to their own exposure. The encrypted phones they believed to be uncrackable became evidence against them, used to convict them in courtrooms across Europe. A turning point for Italy and beyond. The EncroChat operation didn't just disrupt criminal logistics, it shifted the balance of power. In southern Italy, towns once dominated by fear saw raids on mafia compounds, the arrest of local enforcers, and the seizure of businesses used as criminal fronts. In Calabria, Sicily, and Campania, families long under mafia control reported renewed hope and less visible intimidation. Law enforcement agencies now viewed the EncroChat case as a model for future cyber-driven investigations. Europol has since expanded its digital crime division, while new joint task forces in Italy are focusing on emerging technologies like blockchain laundering and darknet markets. But for the traditional mafia, the damage may be permanent. In some ways, it was poetic, says one investigator. The old bosses survived by avoiding the modern world. The new ones embraced it and were destroyed by it. The mafia, once defined by silence, was undone by the noise of its own making. And as the encrypted messages continue to echo in courtrooms across Europe, one truth remains. In a world where even secrets have servers, there is no such thing as an unbreakable code. And that's it. Please like and share the video, and also smash that subscribe. Till next time, folks.